The movie begins by showing us a horrible accident between two cars where one had two passengers and was flipped upside down. The ambulance arrives as soon as possible, and Angel, one of the medics, checks on the passengers inside the red car. After seeing the driver in shock, Ricardo, Angel's partner, starts to speak to her in an attempt to calm her down. A few minutes later, the place is flooded with more ambulances and police rush to the scene, and after getting the patients into the ambulance, Angel rushes to the car and steals sunglasses left by one of the patients, and then heads back inside the ambulance. After finishing up work, Angel goes home and sleeps with his wife, treating her aggressively in bed, and Vane then gets dressed up and goes to her job. Kissing him goodbye, Vane leaves the house, and once his wife leaves, Angel takes out the sunglasses that he stole and places them in the cabinet that he keeps strictly locked. The next day, he was sitting next to his partner Ricardo in the ambulance on standby while Ricardo jabbers on endlessly. But suddenly, they get a call about an unconscious girl and hurry to the place, and when they arrive, they find that the woman was already dead and that there was nothing that they could do. While Ricardo goes to radio it in, Angel steals something like he always does. Taking his stolen goods to his friend, he sells them for $250 but keeps the special ring that he had found, and when he gets home, he starts complaining about the dog next door belonging to their elderly neighbors and how he stepped in the dog's feces. While he's washing his hands, Vane tells him that her period has come, making their month of trying to get pregnant useless. Angel comments that perhaps it's psychosomatic and that she's not getting pregnant because she doesn't want to. Angry, Vane tries to leave, but he follows her and apologizes, promising that he will take a fertility test. Wait, hold on. Did you subscribe to our channel? Come on guys, you're here, you're watching the video, help us out by hitting the subscribe button as it really helps out me and my team to make more videos for you guys. And now, let's get back to the recap. The following day, Angel goes to the hospital and gets his fertility checked, finding out that he has low sperm count. That night when he gets home, he avoids telling his wife what the doctor said to him and instead suggests that they do it more frequently. While Vane goes to the bathroom, a message beeps on her phone and he goes to check it and he sees a casual correspondence between her and a handsome man from her class. The next day, Angel and Ricardo were on call and they were transporting a patient who begins to convulse in the back of the ambulance, and when Ricardo takes his eyes off the road, suddenly a truck hits them, causing the ambulance to flip over. Angel sustains severe injuries and becomes paralyzed from the waist down, and a few weeks later, he became accustomed to taking care of himself and moving around in his wheelchair. As he sees his wife go out every day to go to class or work, he starts to become increasingly jealous. A few days later, Ricardo comes out to visit Angel, but he's met with a swarm of hateful and angry words. Angel blamed his ex-partner for the accident and resented him for coming out of it unscathed. Telling him to never return, Angel kicks out Ricardo, and his perpetual suspicion of his wife makes him even more obsessed, and he learns how to hack her phone, making it easier for him to keep tabs on her. One morning, as she gets ready to go to class, Angel asks her to get him ice cream from the store downstairs, and while she leaves to fulfill his request, he installs the malware on her phone. Every day, he goes to the hospital to do his mandatory physiotherapy in hopes of working again, and Sandra, the hard-ass nurse assigned to him, never lets him slack off and makes sure that he does all his rounds. And that night, while they were having dinner, Angel tells his wife that Sandra thinks that he's making progress and might even be getting back the feelings on his legs again. Vane half-heartedly tells him that it was great news, but her mind was somewhere else. When he asks her what's wrong, she explains to him that she found a part-time job internship in a vet and tells him that she was thinking of changing her job to part-time so she could accommodate it, and the couple argue about money and how Vane earning only part-time wouldn't be enough because Angel was getting only disability checks now, and angry, Vane leaves him to eat his dinner alone, and that night he couldn't sleep because of a terrible back pain, and he wheels himself to the cupboard and finds extra painkillers that Vane keeps, and he uses them to soothe his suffering. While his wife comes home in the morning, he asks her why her phone was off all night, and accuses her of not leaving his painkillers around even though he was able to find them. Apologizing, Vane immediately heads out to buy some more, and finally having enough of the constantly barking dog, Angel puts a bunch of pins inside a steak and leaves it in the park for the small dog to find. Continuing his constant monitoring of his wife, he hears her speak to her friend about the incident with the pills, and hears the other woman suggesting that Vane leave Angel because he was now abusing her. And that night, Angel prepares his wife's favorite meal and sets the table table for a romantic evening. He then apologizes for being a difficult husband and promises her that he will try to be better. He even goes further to allow her to do her vet internship, and after dinner, the couple tries to become intimate, but they fail because Angel couldn't feel anything. As Angel was showering, Vane accidentally discovers the computer that he'd been using to spy on her, and feeling angry and betrayed, she quickly packs a suitcase and leaves the house. When Angel gets out of the shower, he discovers the messy bedroom and his open computer, and realizes that she's found his secret and left him. Months later, Angel has become accustomed to living alone, and he continues his grim life by isolating himself from everyone. One night, he goes to Vane's workplace and sees that she's started a relationship with his old partner, Ricardo. Angel then continues to follow them inside the taxi, and watches them as they enter a children's shop to look at strollers. Shocked by the revelation, he starts planning for revenge, and after making the necessary preparations, he goes to her school and tries to speak to her. Vane seems apprehensive about seeing him and tells him that it's best if they never speak. Pretending to be sad, Angel explains that he didn't want to bother her and that he only came there to say goodbye. Feeling sorry for him, Vane agrees to walk with him to the house, and when they get to the building, Angel tells her that he had to put all her belongings, including her passport, into a box and that she could come to the apartment and take it. When they enter the apartment, Angel distracts Vane and then knocks her out with a dose of morphine. When she awakens, she finds herself tied and gagged on a bed, and Angel opens music to make sure that nobody hears her quiet screams, and then finds her phone by going through her bag and texts Ricardo saying that she isn't ready to have the child with him and that she's leaving. After discarding the phone in the river, Angel returns home and administers another dose of morphine to Vane, telling her that he will stop using it once she learns to behave. Suddenly, Angel hears a knock from outside and finds the elderly neighbor whose dog he had murdered standing outside his door. Vicente complains to Angel that he had left the music very loud the previous day, and Angel comments that he had to deal with his very loud dog for months, and Vicente apologizes and begs Angel to keep it down. Vicente also mentions that he had heard screaming coming from the house, but Angel brushes it off by telling the man that he was with a prostitute, which is kind of the only way that's gonna make him feel a woman's touch at this point. After his physiotherapy session one night, Angel is stopped by Ricardo, and after explaining that he and Vane have been together for a few months now, he tells them that she's been missing and that he was looking for her. Angel tells his ex-partner that he hasn't seen Vane in months and doesn't know where she is. After asking him to let him know if he hears something, Ricardo leaves. The next morning, Angel wakes Vane up and tells her to take a shower after temporarily paralyzing her from the waist down. Vane drags herself down from the bed and across the room to the door, but she finds that it's locked. Angel watches her suffer from his seat, enjoying the movie that he had opened. For the next couple of days, he kept receiving voicemails from Ricardo regarding Vane, even threatening to call the police if he didn't hear from him soon. One night, while Angel feeds Vane dinner, she manages to hit him in the head with a wine bottle and starts screaming for help. Although a bit disoriented from his injury, Angel rolls over to her and injects her with the morphine. Their next door neighbor Vicente hears the screams again and rushes to the house, announcing that he will call the police if he doesn't open the door. And realizing that he didn't have a choice, Angel tricks him into coming inside and then stabs the old man to death. The disturbed Angel calls his friend Herman and asks him to come over to his house immediately, and when Herman arrives, he provides him with an explosive watch from his collection and asks him to get rid of the body. The next day, Angel hears a knock on the door and a voice announcing that it's the police, and opening the door, he lets them in and offers them a seat before they start questioning him about the disappeared Vane. They also question him about Ricardo and ask him where he saw him last, and Angel assures them that he didn't hear from him in months. He explains that Vane had come by the apartment to say goodbye because she was returning to France, and Angel tells the cops that he already knew about Vane and Ricardo's relationship, explaining that he was happy for them. While Angel was speaking to the police, we see flashback scenes of how he had taken Vane's keys and used them to break into their house, hide, and then murder Ricardo by making it seem as if he did it himself. After the cops thank him and vacate the premises, Angel starts building a crib for the child Vane is expecting, and a few weeks later, Angel gets Vane Vane her wheelchair to freely move around in the house. One morning, he calls her to the table after making breakfast and shows her a ring that he had stolen from one of his patients, and he then asks her to marry him, promising that they will do so as soon as he starts trusting her. After breakfast, Vane goes to the bathroom and manages to get the nail clippers from the top shelf without him noticing, and that night, Vane starts showing signs of fever, so Angel goes to the pharmacy to buy some medicine. While he's gone, Vane uses the nail clippers to cut the ropes using her hands, and once she was free, she uses the screwdriver Angel had left lying around to pry open the door and crawl out of the apartment. But suddenly, she sees Angel coming up the elevator and starts panicking, trying to escape from him using the stairs. Abandoning his wheelchair, Angel starts crawling after her as she screams for help, and he continues to grab at her, having no choice, and she takes out the screwdriver that she used to pry open the door and stabs him multiple times, and then pushes him through the guardrail, causing him to fall several stories. As the movie comes to an end, we see Angel in the hospital, the fall causing complete body paralysis, and one of the doctors calls out his name to wake him up and tells him that his girlfriend was there to see him, and bending down closer to him, and now several months pregnant Vane asks if he's happy to see her. Leaning close to his ears, she tells him that from now on, she will be the one who's gonna take care of him. With a chilling grin etched across her face, Vane forcibly seizes the chair, maneuvering it through the sterile corridors of the hospital, and the sinister glint in her eyes betrays a hidden agenda as she navigates the empty hallways, her intentions shrouded in mystery. And that is how the movie comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap. Make sure to leave me a like, leave a comment, also subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much, and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye!